They threw me out like garbage. That is the only way I can say it. I remember the cold hum of the ejection bay, the metal floor under my knees, and the sound of my own people laughing behind me. I was Second Officer Vesa Thren, of the Karathi Dominion, once trusted with the safety of an entire war fleet. Now I was nothing, a flaw, a mistake they wanted to forget. My crime was simple. During a battle over a mining colony, I refused to fire on a transport full of workers. They were not soldiers. They were miners, families, children hiding in cargo holds. My commander gave the order to destroy them anyway, to send a message to the colony below. I said no, I would not do it. For that one word, I was stripped of rank in front of the entire crew. My insignia was torn from my uniform. My name was struck from the fleet records. And then, as a final insult, they placed me in an escape pod meant for damaged equipment, not people, and launched me into open space with barely enough air to last 3 days. "You are waste," my former commander said through the comm before the pod doors sealed. "And waste belongs in the void." I did not cry. I had already used up every tear I had. I simply sat in the dark, small pod, watching the stars drift past the tiny window, and waited to die. I do not know how long I drifted. My air was thinning, and my thoughts had started to slow, heavy and dull, like walking through thick mud. That is when the light came, a soft white light through the window, growing larger. A ship, not Karathi. The shape was wrong, blocky and strange, nothing like the smooth, curved lines of my people's vessels. I remember thinking, this is it. Someone else has found me, and they will finish what my own people started. Instead, the pod shuddered as it was pulled in by a tractor beam, and the darkness outside gave way to the bright interior of a cargo bay. When the pod door opened, I expected soldiers with weapons. I expected shouting. Instead, I saw a single human woman kneeling beside the pod, her hands raised, palms open, showing me she carried nothing dangerous. Her eyes were wide with concern, not hunger or cruelty. "Hey," she said softly, like she was talking to a frightened animal. "You're safe now. Just breathe. We've got you." I did not understand her language. Not fully, not yet. But I understood her tone. It was the same tone a mother might use with a child. No Karathi officer had ever spoken to me that way, not even when I was young. Her name was Mira Okafor, captain of a small salvage ship called the Wandering Star. She and her crew of 4 humans had been collecting debris near a trade route when they found my pod drifting, its distress beacon silent, its air supply almost gone. They did not know what I was. They did not know if I was dangerous, and still, they brought me in. The first few days on their ship were strange. My body was weak, and their medical bay, though simple compared to Karathi technology, was enough to stabilize me. A human doctor named Sam checked on me every few hours, always asking simple questions through a translation device, always patient when I could not answer. "Does this hurt?" he would ask, pressing gently near my ribs. "Yes," I would say, and he would nod and adjust his treatment, never annoyed, never impatient. I waited for the moment they would demand something from me: payment, information, loyalty. In my world, nothing was given without cost. Every kindness was a transaction, every gift a trap waiting to close. But the moment never came. "We're not going to sell you or trade you," Mira told me one evening, sitting across from me in the small mess hall, while I picked at food I did not recognize but was slowly learning to enjoy. "You're not cargo, you're a person. That's it." "Why?" I asked, the word thick and unfamiliar on my tongue, learned only days before. "Why help me? I am nothing to you, less than nothing to my own people." Mira set down her cup and looked at me for a long moment. "Where I come from, that's exactly why we help. Because you needed it. Nobody has to earn kindness, Vesa. It's not a reward. It's just what you do." I did not understand this. Not at first. My entire life had been built on hierarchy, on rank, on the idea that worth was something you proved again and again, and that failure meant disposal. The Karathi Dominion did not waste resources on the broken, and yet here I was, broken in every way that mattered to my people, and these humans treated me like I still had value simply because I existed. I stayed with the crew of the Wandering Star for what became almost 2 years. In that time, I learned their language properly. I learned their habits, their humor, their strange love of music that had no purpose except to make them feel something. I learned that Sam had lost his sister to a mining accident years before, and that was why he became a doctor, so he could save others the way no one had saved her. I learned that Mira had once been in the human military herself, until she saw something that made her walk away from it entirely, choosing instead to spend her life pulling broken things out of the void and giving them a second chance. I asked her once what she saw, what made her leave. "Same thing you saw," she said quietly. "The moment someone becomes a number instead of a person, that's the moment everything breaks." I began to help on the ship in small ways. My knowledge of engineering, learned in my old life as an officer, was useful for repairing damaged systems. I was not treated as a weapon or a tool, though. I was treated as a crew member, someone whose skills mattered but whose life mattered more. Slowly, without realizing it, I stopped thinking of myself as waste. It was during my second year with the humans that the message came. A distress signal, but not from a stranger. This one carried the Korathi seal, the mark of my old empire, the mark I had once worn with pride before it was torn from my chest. Mira brought me the recording herself, her face careful, watching my reaction. The message was from Admiral Threx, the very commander who had ordered my exile. His voice was different now, strained, tired in a way I had never heard from him before. "This is Admiral Threx of the Korathi Dominion Fleet, broadcasting to any capable vessel. Our homeworld is under attack from an unknown biological threat. Our medical systems cannot identify the cause. We are losing thousands each day. We request assistance from any who can provide it, regardless of origin. Regardless of origin." Those words alone told me how desperate things had become. My people did not ask outsiders for help, ever. It went against everything they believed. I sat in silence for a long time after the message ended. "You don't have to go," Mira said gently. "After what they did to you, nobody would blame you for turning away." I thought about it. I thought about the ejection bay, the laughter, the cold void I had been thrown into, like something used and discarded. I thought about how easy it would be to let them suffer, to let the people who called me waste discover what it felt like to be truly powerless. But then I thought about Sam's gentle hands checking my injuries without asking for anything in return. I thought about Mira, kneeling beside my pod with open palms. I thought about 2 years of being shown, again and again, that strength did not come from cruelty, and that the ones who help without needing a reason are often the strongest of all. "I want to go," I said finally. "Not for them, for the people who are dying who never harmed me, the workers, the children, the ones like the transport crew I refuse to fire on." Mira nodded slowly, a small, proud smile forming. "Then we'll go together." The Wandering Star was a small ship, not built for a mission like this, but Mira refused to let me go alone, and so did the rest of the crew. We traveled for weeks toward Korathi space, and every step closer filled me with a strange mix of fear and purpose. When we finally arrived, Korathi warships surrounded their homeworld, more out of desperation than order. I transmitted my old officer codes, still buried somewhere in their systems despite my exile, and requested permission to dock. The silence on the other end lasted so long I thought they would simply destroy us. Then, finally, a voice. "Identify yourself." "Former Second Officer Vesa Thren," I said, my voice steady despite the pounding in my chest. "I bring a human medical team with knowledge that may save your people." Another long silence. Then, reluctantly, permission was granted. Walking through the halls of the Korathi flagship again felt like stepping into a memory I had tried to bury. Officers stared at me, some with confusion, some with open hostility. When Admiral Threx himself came to meet us, his face went pale. "You," he said, disbelief thick in his voice. "The waste we ejected." "Yes," I said simply, "the waste you ejected. Now here to help the people you cannot save." He looked at Mira, at Sam, at the small human medical team standing behind me, and something in his expression cracked. Pride and desperation warred across his face. "Why would you help us?" he asked. "After what we did to you." I remembered Mira's words from the mess hall so long ago. Nobody has to earn kindness. It's not a reward. It's just what you do. Because your people are suffering, I said. And I learned, from those you call savages, that helping does not need a reason beyond that. Sam's team worked quickly once given access to the medical data. It turned out the illness was caused by a contaminant in the water systems, something the Karathi's rigid, hierarchy-driven scientific process had overlooked, because questioning senior officials was forbidden, even when their assumptions were wrong. Human medicine, built on collaboration rather than obedience, found the answer within 2 days. Thousands of lives were saved. I stood beside Sam as the first patients began to recover, watching relief spread across faces that had been full of fear only hours before. Admiral Threx found me afterward, standing alone on an observation deck, looking out at the stars that had once carried me away in exile. "I do not understand you," he admitted quietly. "You could have let us die. It would have been justice." "No," I said. "It would have been revenge. There is a difference. My human friends taught me that mercy is not weakness. It is the hardest kind of strength there is." He said nothing for a long moment. Then, stiffly, formally, he removed his own rank insignia and held it out to me. "The Dominion was wrong," he said. "You were never waste." I did not take the insignia. I did not need his rank or his approval anymore. "Keep it," I said. "I do not want to be Karathi again. I have found where I belong." Word of what happened spread quickly across neighboring systems, the story passing from ship to ship, world to world. The alien woman who was thrown away like trash, who returned not with an army but with healers, who answered cruelty with kindness, and saved the very people who discarded her. Some called it foolish, others called it the bravest thing they had ever heard. I returned to the Wandering Star with Mira and the crew, back to the ship that had saved me twice now, once from the void, and once from becoming the kind of person who mistakes power for worth. As we left Karathi space behind, I stood at the window, watching the stars stretch into unfamiliar constellations, no longer afraid of what waited ahead. "Any regrets?" Mira asked, standing beside me. I thought about the cold ejection bay, the laughter, the years of exile and healing that followed. "None," I said. "Being thrown away was the best thing that ever happened to me. It led me to people who taught me what real strength looks like." Mira smiled and said nothing more, and together, we watched the stars, no longer strangers, but family, sailing forward into whatever came next.